Zero-day vulnerability. Hmm. That is, it's a normal vulnerability. What makes it so special? Well, first of all, yeah, exploit published before software developer can prepare fix. Sounds a little bit simple, but yes, that means that, the vulnerability becomes an exploitable vulnerability when a attacker is launching some kind of a note or memo or manual how to abuse that function of the system that is vulnerable and literally gain some malicious result out of it. You So that is usually happening. There's many bug fixes that come in normal patching, but if there's a bug, let's say, that has a security nature and you can do really something bad, and the attackers are publishing this and other people start automating it and building tools to automatically exploit it because they just scan the internet for certain version numbers of components and then they try the attack there because they know exactly how to do it and it's all pre-configured. It's not literally surfing website by website. Yeah, so it's very 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 quick where the attacks are rolled out, if you would want to use IT terms for this as well. So that's why I mentioned here attack automation, and even script kiddies can do it because they saw it somewhere. Oh yeah, that's the latest thing here. Let's try. Let's just start some scripts, see if we can get something out, because obviously this is a good business. Technically, if you discover something and the company that has this exploit is part of a bug bounty program, you can literally legally earn money with this. Yeah. So obviously, when a zero-day vulnerability is launched or public, then you can assume that in the next few hours there will be a massive attack volume coming because everyone is trying it and everyone trying to find a victim where they can say, well, I can claim something from this. What does help usually is patching. But that of course depends if the technology that you're using, and that's where then the things start dividing in commercial software and open source and things like that. So if the developers, the responsible for this piece of software, is actually having the capacity to react so quickly. So of course, big companies don't want to name any. They have a whole department looking out for this, and they would then try, of course, to mitigate it as quickly as possible because they don't want to be in the news for this, and therefore they may find some stuff that helps them to get off this vulnerability very quickly. Uh, Other companies again would then take some time to react on it, and you may have this vulnerable component for quite some time. Uh, what can you do then? Well, go offline. Yeah. Literally seize your. It's easier to apologize to customers and say, sorry, we're using that technology. That's normally not something that's your mistake, right? Because it has been safe and secure all the time. But now, due to the zero-day vulnerability, you have a certain risk and you have a responsibility towards your customers to say, well, we close this website for now. If you have questions, please call or contact us through a different channel. But let's not risk everything and try to be lucky. Uh, I mean, in everyday's life, when let's say there's a broken uh, pedestrian path, it's also not that they say, let's see if someone's gonna fall over it. Let's just leave it like that. No, in the interest of the public, it will be blocked. There will be some signs put on, please change the road, and it's an inconvenience, but yes, better inconvenience than the real damage, and someone suffers from it. So I hope that analogy helps to understand what happens in case of zero-day vulnerability. It's totally legit to say I rather go offline and prevent bigger damage. In the opinion corner, we put here, Yeah, that's more like sarcastic. Isn't every vulnerability a 0 day on the day it was discovered? Yeah, questionable because if you go back to the definition, exploit published before the fix could have been prepared. Yeah, true. Uh, but it's maybe, I think it's more about the how it's publicized. Yeah. So if there's a channel found where the attacker is very quickly laying out how to use that exploit, and that exploit probably is also, when you look at the last 0 day vulnerabilities, it's usually in some technology that is very, very common. Yeah, so maybe the 0 day aspect to it is not so the critical one. It's just that it's foundational. Yeah, basically, even when you did great patching in the past, you might be also affected because it's just everywhere. Yeah? And the sheer quantity to react on it, that is where the effort comes in, and this is where the delay comes in, and this is where the attackers have the chance. That's why I said going offline is sometimes the easiest thing to say. Well, until we have the fix ready and we have tested everything before we ruin something else, maybe that it is. Yeah, so it's more a time game. Maybe that's why it's allocated to 0 day. But well, at the end of the day, you know that attacker was faster than the industry to mitigate it. And what can you else do is to invest into bug bounty program, because then let's say let's look at it from the other side. If you are not in the bug bounty program and someone finds an exploit, the only way to monetize it is to literally waste your time by contacting you or exposing it, threatening, yeah, and then you have a lot of noise. Yeah. If you have it organized in the bug bounty program, first, the good hackers will pay attention to you. Because if you're not in a bug bounty as a good hacker, I wouldn't touch you. I wouldn't even try and say, oh, you should have signed up for bug bounty. I found something on your website, because not being part of a bug bounty program is literally a rejection of an invitation to be attacked. Whereas being part of the bug bounty program is where you invite people to test, you're very open, and of course, if someone knows that they can earn money in a legal way from this program, it will attract people who are interested really to help you. And therefore, they will also find 0 day vulnerabilities, and they will also recommend what to do. You may pay for it. You may pay a lot for it. Depends. If is it something foundational, like every of your website may have it. But at the end of the day, I think it's still cheaper than actually facing the real truth and doing the investigation and the scanning and the checking all by yourself. Always being afraid you missed something, always being afraid that someone took advantage of it already, so you have to do some other measures. So inviting the good hackers to write on this vulnerability and rub it in and ask you for the money is probably the better way out. But again, there's still the cheaper way with a lot of apology, going offline until patching is ready, and then perform the patching, perform the fixing, and then only release the systems back to the public. That is probably, let's say, a good value for money approach. And because again, don't underestimate the attack automation and script kiddies, and I'm not even talking about AI and machine learning and stuff like that, because they maybe know that you have this vulnerability before you know, and not because they came to you and checked it out, but they have already records of you profiling that they can use to faster run through their indexed library of what your system is built of and how to exploit you than actually going to your website and really finding it. So therefore, don't underestimate the preparation that has been done already, because there are malicious attackers, that are malicious actors that are just waiting for this to happen and to exploit this.